Hey there everyone, it is time to provide some updates on the best stocks to buy now. So each one of these I've featured in other videos. I do also have two wish list stocks to put on the end of this video that I'm not saying that they're necessarily bad to buy right now, or they might even be great, but I still want to look for those deal periods that could come our way maybe in the future, but who knows? That's why it's a wish list for these stocks, not necessarily, hey guys, this is going to happen. But if it should happen, I think that we find some incredible opportunity in it. So the best stocks to buy now, what do I got for you? We're going to talk about Moderna, Restoration Hardware. Apple is on this. Also C3AI is another company as well. And then the two wish list stocks, PLTR and SOFI. I'm going to tell you what prices I wish to get them at because I do think that if things go absolutely sideways for the markets, sometime, we'll call it over the next 6 to 12 months. If it should happen, these would be companies that I'm looking for those bargain basement prices to come in, because I do think that even though they could outperform from where they're at right now, over longer time horizons, man, if we got those discounted deals, I don't think it would last long. It'd be a very limited time sale, in which I would want to be fairly aggressive for myself for those things. So you guys can let me know what you think about it for the comments of this. And guys, I'm also going to share this information and more over at the Discord. Links down in the description, code word doctor when you sign up. First stock that I want to talk about here is Moderna, which has already put in some outperformance through the month of July already. So if we actually take the measurement stick here, and we check out the earliest in July that we can go for Q3. It's right here on this one. We'll go to the close of that candle. Actually, let's go to the previous one. We'll go to the close on the 30th of June. There we go. So that way we get all the price action that takes us up till yesterday. Moderna's up 25% so far, and I think that it could easily give us another 10% or so leading up to earnings, maybe a little bit more than that. Maybe looking more like at least 15. I think we could get that $40 price tag out of this leading up to those earnings. And some evidence that we have for that is the RSI on the daily chart, 67, and then on the weekly chart, what do we got for that? Got an RSI at 51, freshly crossing over 50, so rising is good, and monthly coming off the bottom there. Now, still a little bit early, but since I have the monthly chart here in front of you, here's what I want you to see in other regards besides just the RSI that we have. So you guys can see the elevated volume that we have over time. We also are crossing up above the 5-month moving average, which is absolutely huge. You can see the last time that we were able to cross up above the 5-month and what took place following that, and that was on a relatively low volume, and now we're getting that higher volume, high interest, and we're getting evidence here through these candles that there was some indecision, some battles being fought over it, and now it looks like that battle is being decided during the month of July, leading up to those earnings. Now, mind you, for Moderna, they've been beaten up over time after being, I forget if this was $300 or $500 at its peak, and I would say rightly so for it to fall off the way that it has. It really, all it had for it at first was the COVID vaccine stuff, and really they have to fill out their other products that are just in the pipeline, but I not very soon either. I'm not sure if they have anything hit in 2025. I think it's more like 26, 27, 28, that it's a future roadmap, that it's things looking forward to promise, but there's still FDA approvals and stuff along the way. I do think this is a stock that has a technology that is very promising, if you will, that can offer a lot, but it does have, from a fundamental standpoint, a long way to go before I think it really starts to take over some of those much higher valuations. But in the near term, it's been beaten up enough that some value does happen to come back to it, and I think that's some of what we're seeing right now. So on the monthly basis, being up above the 5-month, if we drop back to weekly on this one, where do we find ourselves for those moving averages? And like I said, for the RSI, just over 50. For the moving averages, we're on top of the 5 and the 13. We actually got the 5 and the 13 across. And I apologize for the laggy computer that I have here. It's my old dinosaur laptop, as me and my family are on vacation right now, not in my usual studio by any means. So for this one, the fact that the 5 across the 13 for the moving averages is a good early sign of further bullishness to take place, and we're also riding on top of that 5 EMA as well, marching up towards the 50. We'll see if we get it. That's on the weekly basis. If we go back and look at the EMAs on a daily basis, the news gets even better, and I'll share it with you. So we have the 5 over the 13 over the 50, very bullish. We are down below the 200, so that's long-term bearish. Even if we take the EMAs down and put up the SMAs, we're still down below that 200 SMA, which is about 35.20. I'm sorry, let me move that down a little bit. $36 is what it is. So actually I can see that up there on the screen as well. But we retested the 20-day, found support. Now we're trying to overtake that 200-day. 20 is over 100 and over the 50. We're potentially getting that magenta 50 to cross that 100-day that's on here as well. So for Moderna, I think that there's still some punch left at the party. If it can overtake that 200-day and sit on top of it as support, like you'll see with C3AI when we talk about it, I think that further upside becomes even more likely. If it gets rejected off the 200-day and resistance holds, probably going to sell back down. We'll have to watch and see if then the 50 holds up, for example. And if it does, well, then maybe we got another shot at the 200. Maybe it's just the 20 that we ride along like we've seen back here or during these past few times, and then most recently again before popping off once again. So the next one, Restoration Hardware, so RH is the ticker symbol. And for this one, we're actually breaking to the upside after this consolidation pattern, and we also had some increased volumes off of it as well. We do have earnings not coming up until September, so we don't necessarily have that risk. And we have way too many moving averages up here. Let's just talk for the fact right now that we strongly moved up above the 20 simple moving average, and that's huge because then if we trade up above that 20 when we revert to the mean, it should go back to the 20 as per the measurements such as the Bollinger Bands, for example, and that can give us a little bit more of an idea of where we're trading at right now, where we could potentially go. If we put up the EMAs on this instead, we actually have traded above the 5 and the 13, but we have not yet gotten the 5 to cross the 13. So from a weekly standpoint, like we look at it right here, we're looking like we're flipping over to some pretty bullish territory, especially after breaking through the top of this consolidation pattern. And that points us to a price target, by the way, of about $340, where we're currently trading at $220. So another $120 on top of that. That's almost a 50% rise from where we're at right now. That's if we can hit that. And we're going to have to watch and see what the market brings to us through the month of August and September, because the background market bias that we have is going to influence pretty much all the stocks that are out there, and Restoration Hardware is certainly no exception to that as well. So let's look at the momentum. Momentum is at 47.33 for the weekly and rising, so we could potentially get that fresh cross over 50 for the weekly chart. And we go out to the monthly chart for Restoration Hardware. So far we're getting rejected at the 5-month, but if we can get on top of that, I showed you with Moderna what that starts to look like. We might be able to see it for Restoration Hardware as well, and that is a longer term chart, so it's going to play out. Every candle's a month on here, so that it will play out over time. We'll see if we get it. RSI sitting at 44 might be starting to inflect around on us. Now from a daily standpoint, the RSI is at 64. That's perfect. The volumes are still a little bit subdued, spiking up a little bit over what we had previously, and with a few days trading up above the moving average that we have on here. I think this is the 20-period moving average for the volumes, trading up above it a little bit. We have the 5 over the 13 over the 50. That's nice for near-term bullishness. The 200 EMA is way up there at 251. The simple moving average, the 200 for that one, is all the way up at 288. We do have the 20 over the 50. So once again, we have a lot of signs that there's some bullishness coming. This white line coming down across your screen this way is the 100 simple moving average. We're almost close to getting the 20 to cross over it. The 50 over it as well. Both of those are also going to be bullish signs that can keep pushing this forward. Apple stock. There we go. For Apple stock, we got to watch out for this double peak here. But man, I've talked about this for a while, and I said for Restoration Hardware, what it looks like when you break out of a consolidation pattern, think of the Apple chart as being a little bit further along, breaking out of that pattern, and is now trying to put in some further upside on this one. We could see ourselves in the mid 220s sometime soon for Apple stock, and this one gives you a lot more safety with the trade than you would have for Restoration Hardware, or especially for Moderna so far, and definitely more than what you would get from C3AI, which I will show next. So we have the 5 over the 13 over the 50, potentially crossing the 5 and the 13 nearly in the near term over the 200. Getting the 50 over the 200 is that golden cross moment we want to watch for. If we put up the simple moving averages to see where we're positioned, we have the 20 crossing the 100. The 50 is down there lagging behind, but the 20 is up above that as well. The golden cross moment for Apple is probably still a ways off if we're going to get it sometime in the near future. And they do have an earnings risk coming up in the near term for us. So for Apple, their earnings, by the way, are coming up on the 31st of July. So that's going to be next week on Thursday in the after hours. So we'll watch and see if Apple's able to recover that. But if they're able to continue this movement, we should at least see a near-term test of that 200-day up at about $222 per share. And then we'll likely get an initial rejection from it if it happens before earnings. We're going to have to watch and see. But we actually have really good movement from Apple. The RSI is sitting at 64 on a daily basis. And then if we go out to a weekly basis for Apple, where do we find the RSI? At 51.42 and rising, so freshly crossing up above 50. And then we also have this near-term bullishness on a weekly basis. that we're trading up above the 50 with the 5 and the 13 still yet to cross it, which can be wildly bullish and can be extra momentum to see happen if the RSI can cross over 50 in bullish territory. With those moving averages also crossing, could be a big moment for Apple. And especially if we can get through earnings pretty darn well, then we should be able to see those crossovers. If we sell off because earnings are bad, well, then it's going to be difficult there. We'll see what they have to say in terms of the tariff side of things about declining sales, for example, through their different products that have the physical products that are out there, and where else the capital is coming from in terms of the services that they offer. So that's Apple for us. And one last thing is the monthly chart for Apple. And when we look at Apple's monthly chart, the RSI is at 54, which is perfect. We're freshly trading up above the 5-month. So far, rejecting back down below the 13 EMA. So if we can get the 5 and the 13 both crossed, that should be also good for further bullishness, further upside for Apple. Long term on a monthly chart is still in very bullish territory. So that's over a very long time horizons. And the last time that we touched the 50 month on here, the 50 EMA, you guys can see what that looked like. So if we do happen to get back down there, you know where to find more of that opportunity that likely should come to it. Of course, you have to do all your due diligence on that, all your work to make sure that it isn't weakness for the company, that it would just be weakness for the stock. So we can watch for that. C3AI. And I'm close to my 2 wish list stocks here. I'm excited to talk about PLTR and SOFI. So the ticker symbol here is AI. We're looking at the daily chart. We are near the golden cross moment. And I talked about this before. We got the retest on 200-day. I said that for, I think it was Restoration Hardware, maybe it was MRNA, breaking through the 200-day is good, but actually showing and retesting as support is even better. So there we found a floor. Then we were able to make a 2% move yesterday. We'll potentially move higher today. We have to watch and see. Again, background market bias could undermine these technicals on any individual stock that we have. That's why investing on one stock could be something like concentration risk, putting all your eggs in one basket, that you're relying on that company to perform well and its stock to perform well. And if either of those two things don't happen, well, that's when things fall flat. So pre-profit here. However, AI defense is huge right now, and also AI in the commercial space. C3 AI is seen to be sort of at the center of that, not necessarily having the narrative right now that BBAI does, Big Bear AI, being talked about as the next Palantir. C3 AI is a little bit more broad, a little bit more commercially prepared with their solutions that they have for the different businesses that are out there. Although they do some government work too. I believe they have some contracts out there. Not the most well-versed in C3 AI. This is mostly about the technicals for it. So RSI on the daily chart, a little bit overbought after this run that it's made all the way down from about $23 up to about $29. It's already made a significant movement, but given what we see in the moving averages and the RSI, we should see a little more. The volumes have moved up a little bit for us, so we're potentially seeing accumulation. Earnings for this one, I think, are around the end of August. So about the 27th of August, they say. And once again, that's approximate. It's not official yet as trading view. Most likely that also means it's not on the investor relation page. It's not been announced by C3 AI. On a weekly basis for the RSI, we're at 58 and rising. So that's perfect. And you guys can see that we're above the 100 and the 50. We're above the 20. We're above the 200. That's a really good setup to have with some more bullish crossovers likely to happen in the future. And then on the monthly chart for this, we are riding just below. We've never been able to hold 50 for C3 AI on a monthly basis. And now's when I want to switch over to those EMAs. There we go. We actually have price action above the 5 and the 13. A bullish crossover on the monthly chart with the RSI pushing above 50 on the monthly chart is wonderful news for a longer term trend. And if we drop down to the weekly chart on this, what we have for the EMAs, we have the 5 above the 50, but almost the 13 above the 50, which is a much bigger bullish sign to get the 13 across the 50. That's usually where you see that push that'll take us up to the next area, which I think would be the 200 EMA, which is north of $33 per share as I record this video. And if we drop down to the daily chart and take a look at the EMAs to see how we're positioned there as well. So Alakazam, it came up here. We are just about to see that 50 EMA cross the 200 EMA, which once again, golden cross moment. So let's put up the simple moving average just to see where we're positioned there. And that's what I talked about before with that potential for that golden cross where you get this magenta 50 crossing over that 200. And usually when the cross happens is when it's long after a lot of the move already happened. We already had the retest on support. We might be in the midst of that move that allows that golden cross to actually take place. Like I said, we have to watch the background market bias for that. So that takes me, and I'm going to transition here in just a moment, but Monday, the 4th of August, is Palantir's earnings in the after hours. And that's huge for us because that could impact stocks like Big Bear AI. That could also impact the stocks. And I just realized that there's a pretty terrible glare. I'll lean forward for you guys. So that could impact stocks like Big Bear AI and C3 AI if Palantir's earnings are incredible and the stock blasts off and talks about a lot of market strength with expanding total addressable market, for example. So TAM would be that, and that we'll see about their leadership. Do they continue to dominate like they do? Palantir is definitely the big brother who's already made a success journey or is in the midst of its success journey, whereas C3 AI and Big Bear AI are still very early for this, that they're still the little brothers in this, that they're still trying to step up and really make that name for themselves that fills out top line and bottom line on their earnings reports. So for Palantir, this is my first of my wish list stocks. And guys, I'm going to share more of this stuff over the Discord. Code word doctor gets you 50% off your first month. I'm just one of the panel experts, the whole team of us there to support you and your journey towards financial freedom and building alpha in your portfolio. And you guys can also learn technical analysis like you've seen here, along with technical trading and options by using the coursework down in the description through Stockmo Academy. So just click that link, sign up. Using that link and code word doctor is going to get you a discount. Bundling the courses gets you a deeper one. Let's get back into Palantir and the SOFI. Let me pop this back up here for you because now's when I start talking about the wish and hopes, if you will. So please don't take this as a price prediction. This is not part of the technical analysis. This is me saying, like I said, for NVIDIA, when NVIDIA was over $150 per share and certainly over $140 per share, I said, for me, I think that there's a day that will come where we're going to see two-digit NVIDIA. And should that day come, I think it's going to present an incredible opportunity. And we've 2x'd since that low that we had back on whatever day in April it was, around April 2nd for Liberation Day, which probably April 3rd may have been the day that we bottomed out. That maybe April 7th was the bottom of it. Wherever that bottom happened to be in early April, we've moved up from $85, $86 per share for NVIDIA all the way back up north of $170 per share. Well, I think that that could also be the story that we get for Palantir, is that if Palantir has that day that something terrible happens market-wise and ends up being back in two-digit territory, there's going to be people that are scarfing up those shares, and I think we'll get a rubber band effect as long as whatever happens doesn't negatively impact Palantir's fundamentals. So as long as they stay just as fundamentally strong or strong, and something completely horrible happens market-wise, and things get dragged down for us again, and we're all like, oh man, what's happening? We're not going to sell everything. At that point in time, when we think that we reached that peak fear moment, sort of like with Liberation Day tariffs, back when they were announced back in early April, when we have a moment like that, Palantir is one of the companies that I'm looking at for that incredible opportunity that can return in multiples to me over longer time horizons. It could take days, weeks, months, but it could also take years in order for that to happen, although I don't think it would. I think it'd be a very fast rubber banding effect. But then again, we also had 2022 where we had to wait for a while for things to turn back around. But you guys can go and look at the charts and see what has happened from 2022's times to what we have right now. Should we have another moment like that, Palantir is one of my prime candidates where I would take that opportunity for two-digit Palantir. Like I said, as long as nothing fundamentally has gotten bad for Palantir during that time, everything just as strong fundamentally for Palantir, that their growth numbers are just as good or better. Two-digit Palantir, I think, sounds incredible. You guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. That's one of my wish list stocks for one of those values should it come my way at any point in time. Not a prediction, just a near promise, if you will, of investment, at least on my behalf. And you guys can do whatever you want to do. Your life is yours. Your money's yours. So for me, for Palantir, man, if I see it, I'm jumping on it. Just like I jumped on NVIDIA when that one dropped down in two-digit territory. And that leads me to my next wish list stock, which is SOFI, long-term investor in SOFI, buying it up at $4 per share, $5 per share. And it's been a wonderful ride since that point in time. It's really nice to see it north of $20 per share. My wish list for this is to see SOFI back in the $13 to $15 range. So still two-digit, but if we see it back in that $13 to $15 range or below, once again, that something goes sideways, but nothing fundamentally changes for SOFI. For me, that is that next deep value territory for a company that has been growing over time and has a significant trajectory ahead of it, that this is still an early growth company, but a profitable early growth company that still has some wild outperformance to happen over time. as it continues to build and develop in the fintech space. So those are my wish list stocks for you guys, and also my best stocks to buy now for Q3 2025, potentially through the rest of 2025. You guys can let me know what you think of them down in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you over in the Discord, and don't forget about those courses as well. If you want to learn more about technical analysis, technical trading, or options trading, bundling the courses gets you the best discount. Code word doctor works with it. Whichever link that you're signing up for, you sign up for both, use code word doctor, you get the discounts on both of them. The discount does expire soon on that Discord sign up for the earner tier, so make sure that you take advantage of that. If you're going to, I would do it sooner than later, because waiting might end up costing you just a little bit more. Either way, whether you get the discount or you don't, the value is incredible, as I believe that it has been priced to be very accessible to people and yet still wildly return value to those people as well. It can return back in dividends what you put into it if you're really leaning into your due diligence as you go through with the thoughts and ideas and transactions that we put out there with our buys and sells, with the receipts and the live trading, the lessons that are over there. You name it, it's all there and ready to go. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you next video.